Hello, one and all! This is my review of That Time It Reincarnated Slime, Season 2, Episode 4. And first and foremost, I just really need to say, are you freaking kidding me? Rimuru, Molly, have you never heard the term don't jinx it before? I mean, seriously, Rimuru, oh, there's no way Tempest can be invaded. Molly, I don't know, I think Falmus might end up invading you any day now. Haha, just kidding. Are you freaking kidding me? The very next scene is Falmus plotting their invasion of Tempest, and it's all because Rimuru and Molly just had to freaking jinx it. Though, I do have to say, I really do love Molly as a character. I actually did a whole video on how the anime changed his introduction. I'll link that up above, down below, somewhere. And just him interacting with Rimuru is so freaking amazing to see. This greedy smile they both have as they're plotting and planning their business escapades. I freaking love it. You know, Molly even went so far as to pay for the graduation party for the kids. That was a nice touch. He is, a truly honorable, decent, good man. I just freaking love him. Anyway, on to people I don't like so much right now. The King of Falmus and his council. I have seriously never seen a more slimy bunch of people in my entire freaking life. Though that being said, they do have good reason to hate Tempest. I mean, first and foremost, it is a nation of monsters. That's basically never happened before in the entire history of this series. Plus, there's the fact that their whole religion basically says they can't talk to or negotiate with monsters. So yeah, that's definitely an issue. Secondly, though, there's a problem that if Tempest continues to flourish, eventually they're going to go completely and utterly bankrupt. Basically, their country's primary source of income is trade, and they are the only country that borders Dwargon, the country of dwarves. So they have access to all sorts of dwarven technology they can go and resell to the other Western nations. Or they can charge high tariffs to merchants who cross through their country to get to Dwargon. This whole system, though, was kind of utterly and completely destroyed by Rimuru building a highway between Blummin and Tempest, and between Tempest and Dwargon. I mean, first and foremost, it's a paved highway, which makes for a much faster and much more enjoyable trip on a carriage. Secondly, it's guarded by the Goblin Riders, who patrol it to make sure that no monsters come in and attack them, meaning the merchants don't actually need to hire bodyguards to keep them safe. And thirdly, there's no tariffs. Actually, there are a tariff, but I think they're being covered by the country of Blummin at this moment. I'll get into that later. So yeah, Falmus needs to do something very quickly about Tempest, or they will go completely bankrupt. Though greed is also a very, very big motivator here, the king is very well aware of how successful and profitable Tempest is, and the king was even able to get his hands on some silk that they had made, showing, just how valuable this material is and how much, they can get if they can get the manufacturing and they can start selling it themselves. So they're going to go invade Tempest, though they need a little bit more firepower than they currently have. Thankfully, though, Archbishop Raim explains that the church has basically declared Rimuru and the entirety of Tempest to be an enemy of their god. Which is, a pretty big freaking deal, given that the church is probably the largest military organization in the entire West. Yeah, that's definitely be a problem. But because Rimuru hasn't actually done anything all that bad at this point, they're kind of taking a wait-and-see approach with things. However, if the Kingdom of Falmus happened to send some soldiers near Tempest and they happen to be attacked, well, then the church would, go in with full force, doing everything in their power to save the believers from those evil and corrupt monsters. So yeah, the Kingdom of Falmus' plan is basically to start a holy war just so they can make some freaking money. God, I hate them all so very, very much. Anyway, speaking of people I hate, let's talk about the Otherworlders, because they are all awful, awful human beings. I mean, seriously, they all suck. They seriously suck. First we have Shogo, who is incredibly violent, incredibly angry, and apparently has a Berserker skill, which fits him so utterly perfectly. Already hate him, though not as much as I hate Kirara. Kirara. Something like that. Her skill was described as being a whole lot scarier than Berserk, and she is an utterly and completely selfish brat. Even going so far as to say this whole world should be destroyed simply because they don't have smartphones or the internet. Oh, she's awful. And then we have the third guy, who's definitely more calm than the other two, but I mean, when he gets serious, he has this very, very terrifying look in his eyes, which just tells me, he's probably the worst of all three of them. I mean, in their defense, though, they were kidnapped by Falmus, and they are, essentially slaves here. So they definitely have a reason to be this upset, but still, they are just such awful people. I already hate them. Anyway, speaking of the war, let's talk about Mulan, because oh god, seriously, Tempest, are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? You not only welcomed the spy with open arms, you showed her your weapon production facility, your potion production facility, your training grounds, and then you even freaking bathed with her! You invited a freaking spy into the bath with you! You deserve to be invaded after being, that friendly to freaking strangers! Though I do have to say, I am glad they showed her the weapon production facility simply because it gave us a chance to see Korobei. Finally! I think this is his first appearance the entire season. It is actually a running joke in the manga that people are always forgetting about him and he's never appeared on the cover. Oh god, poor Korobei. I love him. Anyway, then we get to see the training, and Grusha is very, very impressed with Gapta and the goblins for surviving this level of training, this intense training day in and day out. I mean, seriously, Grusha was trained by the Biscuiteers, by Demon Lord Carrion himself, and yet he finds Hakuro to be a more violent, more aggressive, more brutal teacher than a freaking Demon Lord. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. Do not take off that old man. I mean, seriously. And then Grusha and Mulan end up fighting after he's a little bit sexist to her, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense for his character because, 2 of the 3 Biscuiteers are women. Terrifying, terrifying women. And yet, despite that, he's still like, oh, there's no way this girl could beat me. Like, really? Though I'm glad it happened because it did end up with him getting his butt kicked and him essentially joining Yome's gang as a member of his party. I freaking love that. That's a very interesting trio right there. And I also do love just how Grusha, so gracefully accepts defeat. He doesn't say, oh, there's no way this happened. Oh, you cheated because you used magic. Oh, this, oh, that. He accepts her strength and recognizes it. And he's like, all right, you defeated me fair and square. From now on, I'm part of Yome's gang. Oh, I love that. And then Gapta gets his bright idea. They can use Mulan's skills to take down Hakuro. They cannot, because they are idiots. I mean, truly, truly idiots. It's interesting, in the light novel it was actually said that Hakuro was able to see the flow of the magic circle, even though it was hidden, and that's how he knew the trap was there. Though that's not the end of the fight in the manga, because after that fails, Mulan attempts to use a darkness spell and then a flashbang spell to blind Hakuro so they can take him out. But Grusha looks directly into the flashbang, even though he was warned that it was coming. Because he is an idiot, a complete and utter idiot. Anyway, then on to Rimuru and his students. They passed their exams, yay! And to congratulate them, he gives them the entirety of Parasites. Seriously? I mean, I feel like Parasite is a little bit too mature for them. There's a lot of, violence and very, very dark material in that series. Someone online did say the same company that published Reincarnated Slime published Parasite, so that's why they use that one, because they can actually say the name without censoring it. I don't know, maybe. And then Rimuru holds a big manga dinner party to celebrate. I just love all these kids reading manga. Though I do have to ask, what's the deal with Chloe? I mean, she looks so utterly serious while she's reading manga. Even after everyone falls asleep, she is still diligently reading it like it's a homework assignment, like she wants to get through it as quickly as possible. I mean, seriously. Does she just, really want to talk about the ending with Rimuru? I mean, what's up with that? I'm very, very curious about her. And then we get a brief glimpse of the treaty that he signed with Blumend on his way to Anglacia. And the treaty basically has 2 parts to it, safety and travel. The safety part basically says if either side is in any danger, the other side will do everything in their power to lend a helping hand. If Blumend is attacked by a bunch of monsters, Rimuru will send a bunch of his own monsters to lend a helping hand and save the day. Yay! If Tempest is ever attacked by, some world-ending threat, then Blumend will send, someone to help. But it's not like there's a whole lot they can do to actually help Tempest with the threats they're facing at this point. So Rimuru didn't pay all that much attention to this part of the treaty. The second part, though, the travel one, is the one he was really interested in. Basically, it allowed people to travel from Blumend to Tempest and from Tempest to Blumend. And even allowed Rimuru to basically charge people to come to Tempest along the highway. Though the treaty also said that for the first year, Blumend would cover all the tariffs and costs and whatnot for people coming back and forth from Tempest. And Rimuru thought, wow, this is a great deal. They're really doing a lot for me here. I'm definitely going to sign this. And it was only after it was signed that he realized that he had royally forked up. Because, the safety part of it was actually what they were really concerned about. Not so much being attacked by monsters, but being attacked by the Eastern Empire. Yeah, this hasn't actually been mentioned all that much in the anime, but basically, at this point, light novel, it's been explained that all the nations we've seen up to this point are nations of the West. And across the border is the East, which is, one giant militaristic empire with super advanced technology that is planning eventually on conquering the entire world. So, yeah. Very, very bad, very dangerous, very threatening, and one of the main concerns of the Western nations at this point is finding a way not to be murdered when the Eastern nation eventually invades them. Though it should be noted that if the Eastern nation actually wanted to reach Blumend, they would need to travel through either Dwargon or the Forest of Jura anyway, so Rimuru would probably have to fight them one way or another, even without the treaty. But, Rimuru definitely got the short end of the stick there. But he accepted it fairly gracefully. I mean, seriously, these people attempted to trick a monster of nations into signing a bad deal. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? He accepted it fairly gracefully, though, which I think was also, part of their way of testing him. Decide, okay, if he reacts violently or angrily to this, then we know he's not a, slime that we want to be working with moving forward. But because, he accepted gracefully because he said, all right, well, I guess I just going to live with this moving forward. They decided, all right, he's a very honorable slime. He's a slime we can work with. He's a slime that we can make future deals with down the road. Good for us. Also, I do just love they showed the King of Blumend. He's a very interesting person, very happy, very joyful, but also very conniving and sneaky and a planner and a plotter. And he just looks so utterly, utterly different from his wife. It's actually shocking, but what has been said in the light novel, they are actually really close. Their love is true, even though he looks like a potato and she looks like a supermodel. All right, so yeah, those are my thoughts of the episode. Oh, actually, one last thing I almost forgot about. Let's talk about Malim, because she is looking very, very angry, and she is with Clayman right now. So, interesting. Yeah, that's seems like something that we should be worried about moving forward, especially because Clayman has a spy in Tempest right now. So, a lot of plotting going around, a lot of things moving in the background. And I really do think next episode is going to be the one that puts us back on track, the one that shows us, okay, this is what happened after the end of season 1. So we can finally move on and see what happened then, the next big arc, all that fun, exciting stuff. Can't wait for that. Though we are still missing one small part of it. I mean, yes, Rimuru signed that treaty while he was in Bloodmint, but he also did some other stuff that we still haven't seen and which is important for another part of the anime. So I'm very curious how they're going to include that. I mean, this was just a brief flashback. I guess they could do the same there, but I mean, they showed part of it in the opening, which is just so utterly weird. It makes it seem like, that's going to be a big part of the storyline, or maybe they just showed it in the opening because they knew they couldn't show it in the actual anime. They wouldn't have time or space for it. Very, very curious about all of that, but let me think it down below. What do you think of this episode? Why do you think Malim looks so angry? What is Mulan going to end up doing under Clayman's orders? How is Falmus's invasion attack on Tempest going to go? Let me know what you think all down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you next video. And until then,
peace.